guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Romina and today we're here to talk about my ultimate fall TBR. I'm not really a fall person, don't be mad at me. It's just that fall is not my favorite season. That would be spring. I love spring first and fall second. But what I love about fall is its cozy feeling, and I love to be under a blanket, reading books, and drinking a cup of tea, which is what I'm drinking right now. You should grab a drink too and enjoy it while we're talking to each other, okay? So, how am I going to do this? Okay, I'm going to recommend you the books that I have read, and I know that they have the whole autumn vibe in them, at least in my opinion. Maybe these books and the storyline is not happening in fall, but they gave me a good fall vibe. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to recommend them to you. I've read all of these books before. Maybe some of them weren't 5 stars. It's just about the vibes, and I'm going to tell you about them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them into 2 categories. I wanted to do 3 or 4, but let's do it 2 and mix some things in them because genres are not really strict and they're mixed. So the first category that we have is romance with a touch of magical realism and fantasy. And the second category that we have is mystery thrillers and dark academia, or at least happening in an academic setting, because some of them are not dark academia, they're just academia. Okay, let's do the first category first. The first book we have in this category is a romance book. It's called What the Wind Knows by Amy Harmon. She is a very fantastic author. Her writing is devastating and heartbreaking, but very, very beautiful. This was my favorite book of last year, and it changed my life. Basically, it's about a young author in America. She knows that she's from Ireland, but she has never been to Ireland. She lives with her grandfather because her parents have passed away. And her grandfather always talks about Ireland as a very magical place that he loves more than anything. But every time she suggests that they go to Ireland and visit or other stuff, he said no. He says no, it's not the time. At the beginning of this book, her grandpa is passing away, and while he's passing away, he basically tells her that now it's your time to go back. He has left her some state and some businesses that she has to deal with. So she goes back to Ireland and goes into the loch. While being on, she falls out of her boat, and suddenly she's in the past, and she has to figure out, okay, how the hell did I time travel, which we know it was the loch. Why am I here? How can I get out? What's going on here? What's my purpose here? And as she goes on, she realizes that she's intertwined with the history that she has been told by her grandfather. The love story in this one, there's a man in this. That man loves this girl, okay? That's the kind of pure, innocent, yearning love. So loyal, so beautiful. You get to hear about one of the most important parts of Ireland's history through this romance. It's a very complicated political time for Ireland, and we get to see that from the eyes of our girl, who knows what's going to happen in the future. She knows where all of this is going, and technically she can change the story. But will she? Okay? Next book with a very autumnal vibe to it is Evocation, Esther Gibson. This book is about our main character, David. He is a magician and he is in a society of magicians. But when he gets near to his 30th birthday, he realizes that there's a curse on his family. And it wasn't actually a myth, and it's real, and it's happening to him. And he's going to pay for that curse and deal that one of his great great grandparents made with basically the devil with his life. But he doesn't want to die, obviously. Therefore, he asks for help from one of the people in this society that knows most about curses, and he's a professor and all of this stuff. He knows everything about magic and curses, and he's one of the strongest magicians of their generation. What go there's only one catch. This magician is his ex, Reese. And Reese is now married to another magician who's a woman and is not in this society because this society is only for men. She's a very different type of magician. She was never in this society, an academic place and system. She's just a free magician, and therefore her magic is very strong because she was never obeying any type of rules, but she has some type of morals for herself. So David asks help from Reese and his wife Moira, because that's the deal. I'm your ex, it's fine, you can help me, you can even bring your wife. They make a deal that if Reese helps him, he can have unlimited access to his dad's library, which is basically their entire generation of magicians' library. And this whole book is about, well, first of all, them trying to figure out this curse and how to save David's life, but also a very beautiful, heartwarming poly relationship. So what's happening is Reese is still in love with David, his ex, but he also loves his wife and he never wants to betray his wife and go behind her back. But Moira is a very strong, confident and brilliant woman. She sees this situation as, I love my husband and I know that he loves me, and I trust in our love enough to know that we can share it with one other person that his soul is basically tied to. David is his soulmate. So is Moira. So what she does, again, I'm repeating that she is the one that goes to her husband and is like, okay, you love him and I love you enough to let you love him. And they start a poly relationship. David and Moira, so Reese's ex and Reese's wife, are not into each other. They don't like each other like that. David is gay. But they have such a beautiful bond between them that it's not romantic and sexual, but so beautiful. They really do love each other, and that's how they make it work. But it's funny is David and Reese have a type of fire that they love each other so much that they burn each other up sometimes. And Moira is the calm water that makes this whole thing work. So if Moira wasn't there, this wouldn't work. These two people couldn't be with each other healthily. They would be in a toxic relationship. But Moira is the one that makes everything beautiful and balanced. So I love that. I love a strong woman. Next book is Your Blood, My Bones by Kelly Andrew. Here's the thing. There's always a backstory behind everything. I did not know that this author had another book before this one and they were related. I started with this one. And this book starts when Wyatt, our main character, inherits her parents' farmhouse. And she has so many bad memories of this farmhouse that the only thing that she wants to do with it is go back, burn it down, and come home. And so she doesn't plan to be there long. But when she gets there, she's getting ready to burn it all down. Then she goes to the basement one more time to just reminisce on everything. And she realizes that there's somebody chained up in the basement. And who is it? It's Peter, her childhood love. He was in the farm all these years and they loved each other because they basically grew up each other. What Wyatt doesn't know is that her entire family worked with curses and spells and magical things, and what made them be able to do that was Peter, who is semi-immortal, has lived so long, and basically people can't kill him. But he's cursed. He needs to do, in order to break this curse, is keeping him like a prisoner, is to kill Wyatt. But he loves Wyatt. And we get to read this story through both of their eyes. And the Peter chapters are beautiful. And oh my god, the ending. The ending is going to break your heart. Okay? You can see it coming, but not really. It's always there in the back of your mind that, oh my god, this could be the end result. But you always think, no, that's not going to happen. And it happens. And it breaks your heart. The ending is so sad. So sad. But again, beautiful. This book is a beautiful book. The only disclaimer is that, as I told you, I did not know that there was a book before this one. And I don't know, 75% you're reading this book and some characters just show up. And you're like, who are these people? How do they know each other? What are they talking about? Because they're constantly talking to each other as if you should know this conversation. And I then realized that, oh, these characters are from the previous book. And this is technically a standalone, but the characters just come in for a few pages and get out again. If you don't mind not knowing what they are talking about, that's fine. But if you want to have the full experience, maybe read the other book first. That one is called The Whispering Dark. I never read it. I didn't read it before this book, and I did not read it after this one. But I should, because I want to read the book that she published this year, I Am Made of Death. And I've heard that in order to understand this one, you really need to have read the first one. So probably this fall I'm going to read the first book and probably reread the second one and get to the third one. So maybe you should do that too and enjoy the whole experience of it. Now I'm going to talk about a series. I read this series 2 years ago, and when you start the first book, it just pulls you in and you go to the next one and next one and next one. They are all very short and capturing. You just get hooked and you just move along into it. So what's fun about this is this book is written as a memoir. So the first book starts with a note from the author, which is the main character of this book, Isabel, and it starts with Dear Reader. So it's like Lady Trent, which is Isabel, is telling you her story when she got older. So she's telling you the story of how she got from being a very normal girl into a very, very well-known dragon naturalist. So she's a dragon naturalist, and you read this whole story knowing where she goes, because again, memoir style, but you start with her childhood. And I love this element in books when they tell you the story as if it's a memoir, or it's a podcast, or it's the diary entries. And so that's a very good part of it. What's way more fun about it is that, okay, again, I should really reread this series now that I'm talking about this. I want that feeling back. So the first book is kinda the most boring one. They're not boring, okay? They're just short and quick. The first one is basically the prologue. She's telling you, okay, I'm Lady Trent, I'm a very well-known naturalist. I have written these books. I've been into these seminars and gave interviews. But let me tell you where it started. And it starts from when she's a child in her parents' house. In a time that girls don't get educated, they just get married. How she went into her father's library to steal books, and how she captured, I don't know, birds. So it's like that. And the first book is basically the prologue. But when you're in the middle of the first book, she starts her journey of becoming a naturalist. Very slowly, she's not like, oh, from tomorrow I'm going to go to the university and become a naturalist. No, she just takes it step by step. And every book, she and her crew of naturalists and people who are interested in dragons travel into some part of the world, which is our world, but it doesn't have the same names. So they're on Earth, but a slightly different version of the Earth. So they move into a place that is the Middle East. Okay, and the people that they're talking about, their language, the way they live their lives, their homes, it's the Middle East. Or they move to a place that is like Alaska. Every place that you read, you basically have an idea of where it is in our Earth, but on hers. And every part of this world, basically Earth, has a different type of dragon based on its climate, and she just goes around to study these dragons or writes it down. Just, she's a naturalist, and it's so beautiful. It wraps up so perfectly. When you read the last book, you're like, I get it now. I know why we were on this journey and why we learned all those little stuff about these dragons to just get to this point of the twist, the reveal, I love Isabel. She's such a great main character. Every place that she goes, she respects their religion, their costumes, their everything about them. When they say, okay, this is a part of our culture and you need to obey these rules, she does it without asking questions. She changes herself to be more like that place so that she can learn, and she tries to learn everything about them, including their language, and she puts in effort and to do that. And a kind of love story also develops throughout this 5 or 6 book series, which I love. It's not a romance. There are just some romantic elements in it, and it made me love the books so much more. And now talking about it makes me want to go back and reread the whole series, knowing what I know. Obviously, we can't have an autumn bliss without the Queen of Autumn books, Alexi Harrow. What I'm going to recommend, all of her books. First of all, read all of her books. Every book she writes is a perfect book. She has a perfect type of writing. Her writing is really beautiful, really touching. It's atmospheric, autumnal, just very good. But what I want to put emphasis on is The Sixth Death of a Saint. It's a 36-page book, so I can't really talk about it that much and spoil the story because, again, very short. But what I'm briefly going to say is, it starts when our main character is a little girl and a kind of king saves her from something. I can't really talk about it, okay? She gets saved and she has to serve this king and try to make him reign longer. And it goes from there, and as you can know from the title, there are 6 times that she dies, but their reasoning and the way she writes these scenes are, again, something I need to reread. That 36 page affected me so much that I cried at the end of it. 36 pages, and I cried. That's a that's a brilliant author. That's an author who knows what she's doing. Alexis Ihara knows what she's doing, and I cannot wait to read all of her books, especially her newest one. Another author that I'm going to recommend her entire list and not just point into books is Ava Reid, one of the authors that read very atmospheric books, especially Juniper and Thorn and A Study in Drowning. I love her writing. Again, especially Juniper and Thorn has a very great autumnal vibe. You are reading the story of our main character, Marlene Shen, who lives in a house with two of her sisters and her father. And she has a very abusive father who doesn't let these girls leave their home. And the whole magical parts and their house and everything that they have to do is great autumnal vibes. This can be a very great animation, I think. It can also be a great movie, not a TV show, movie. What you need to do, first of all, you need to read it. And personally, I think you should not read the summary. Let the story take you where it wants to. But what you should do, definitely check the trigger warnings. Every time that you want to read a book by Ava Reid, please check the trigger warnings, because she doesn't want to just tell a story. She always wants to tell a story and put some very heavy themes in it because she wants to talk about them and she thinks it's very necessary to talk about them. So there are some very heavy scenes in her books. She writes them graphically, not for shock factor, because she basically wants herself and the audience to go through that trauma and analyze it on page. So she writes it as a real experience. And when you read them, which are basically essay and definitely CSA, she writes about CSA so often, you feel like you're there, and it's such a hard thing to read about. Okay, it's not easy at all. In this book, basically these two characters who have been through SA and are SA survivor go through that trauma throughout sex with each other. So it's heavy. I know I'm saying it's a very autumnal atmospheric thing, and it is magical, it's beautiful, but it has so many heavy scenes that you need to know about. Okay, so if you need trigger warnings, please check them and protect yourself and your mental health. One more book that I want to talk to you about, and I read this recently. I read it last month and I wish I hadn't, because it wasn't autumn, it was summer. Still, I did not know the vibes. Okay, it's Briefly a Delicious Life by Nell Stevens. I didn't want to get their name wrong. So this book is about our so the narrator of this story, who is our main character, kinda is a ghost named Blanca. Blanca died when she was 14. When she was 14, very gruesomely, in a monastery. You don't get to know why and what happened to lead her to die, but you know it was not a natural death. You don't know if it was a murder or somebody did something negligent. You just know that she died in this monastery and it was the fault of the brothers that were living there. And she has been lingering there for 400 years almost. And she has been trying to basically fix what happened by helping other people. She's trying to help other people not go through things similar to what she did. So she moves stuff, makes people say stuff accidentally, makes them trip, makes them sick, all those small ghostly things. But at the beginning of our story, 400 years later, a family moves into this monastery, which is not a monastery anymore. People basically rent rooms there. And a family goes there. This family is a mom named George, her two children, her maid, and her boyfriend. In that time of our history, that women always wore skirts, long dresses, and they were always married. There was no relationship outside of wedlock. But George wears suits, and she has a boyfriend, not a husband, who is not the father of her children. She's a very, very modern kind of woman in a town which is so superstitious, so religious. They go to church every week, no exception, and they don't. This family skips that. So it's a very outcast family, and throughout the whole story, you're hearing from Blanca's point of view of watching this family and falling in love with each and every one of them and telling you their backstories because she can read their minds. She tells you their backstories, and she's so worried about the way that they're acting, because not because she thinks they're wrong. She's so worried because she can see how the town people are receiving it and talking among themselves, and she's so worried for the well-being of this family, especially because the man Chopin, who is a pianist, is very sick, so he's not there to help this family or protect them against the danger of this town, who sees them out as outsiders that are bringing disease and demonic things into their town. And I never thought I would love a story from the point of view of a ghost, but it was so good. It was a very slow kind of book. It felt like I was reading a classic. It reminded me so much, not that the vibes of the story are anyways similar, but the pace of it reminded me of when I was reading Willette by Charlotte Bronte. It was a very slow, atmospheric, deep, character-based story, and you get to see this family, you get to see their backstory, you get to see what Blanca went through and why she died, you get to see her great granddaughter. It's a very great book, okay? It screams autumn. It screams autumn, and I really missed the chance to read this book when I should have, but I'm really glad that I did, and I can at least tell you to read it when it's the right time. Let's move on to our next category, which is mystery thrillers and dark academia books, or books that are based in an academic setting. Okay, first of all, I'm going to rapid mention all the books that everybody know about, and they're, the perfect example of dark academia fall reads. First, If We Were Villains by Emil Rio. No book is ever going to be that book, okay? Dark academia, Shakespeare theater students, a murder happening, everything getting out of hand. You know If We Were Villains, okay? I'm not going to talk to you about this because you know, and it would be just repetition. Second, The Atlas Six by Olivia Blake. Again, one of those very well-known dark academia books that I'm not going to repeat to you, you know. And third, Babel by R.F. Kuang. Again, a dark academia book, students loving to study, but getting too deep into their studies and losing perspective on every other thing. The vibes of being in Oxford. Were we in Oxford? Yeah, they were in Oxford. I read Catabasis this year, and it was Cambridge, and I was like, wait a second, was it Oxford? Yes, it was Oxford. So let's move on to the books that I am going to talk about, okay? Let's start with Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll, if I'm not saying her name right. So this book is about Pamela, who is a basically fictional character that represents very real people. She's one of the people who was in the dormitory for girls that Ted Bundy attacked one night and killed 2 people in it, that sorority house. And you get to read this book from the point of views of Ted Bundy's victims, or people who survived him. But never once in this whole book you hear his name, which is which is a very interesting and great decision. This book is basically, well, first of all, telling the story of them and putting the focus on them and telling the whole story of, okay, after that this happened and this happened, and you watch the story unravel, but not from the point of view of the serial killer, Ted Bundy, or the detectives. You get to see that throughout the eyes of people who were affected by what happened. And basically what this book wants to say, next to the whole story, it wants to tell you that story, but that's not the point. The point of this story is that when something like this happens in our society, we've put so much focus on the person who has committed the crime that we forget the victims or the survivors. Okay, the whole society gets so infatuated and amazed by this man and what his brain was capable of and how gruesome and unhumane he was, that they basically forget that the people that we're talking about were people with families. They're not just stories, horror stories that you tell. They are real people. They were real people with friends, families, futures. And it basically tells you that the media turned this serial killer, who was a monster, into a brilliant man. And technically he wasn't, okay? It's telling you that he was a very normal dude, nothing special. He did things like defend himself, as we all know is something Ted Bundy did, because he was stupid. And it wasn't that he was alone. He had a team behind him that was telling him what to say. He was just a front man. And he basically says that, and it basically says that every brilliant thing that he did was because of the people that were telling her what to do. And the actual brilliant people in this whole storyline were the girls that he murdered. He saw them, he saw how brilliant they were and what a bright future they had, and he couldn't handle that because he was such a failure and he felt like a loser, so he went out and killed them. But we as a society talk about Ted Bundy as this brilliant, out of this mind, high IQ, great man who was a serial killer. And we never talk about how brilliant and smart these women were. These women who didn't get to have a future because of this ordinary, normal man. Okay? And the storytelling is beautiful. You can never forget this book after you read it. You read some sentences that will stick with you forever. And as somebody that has been so invested in true crime for 7-8 years, I'm 20, so that would be since I was 11 or 12. I've been so invested in true crime. I've listened to many podcasts, especially Morbid. I've listened to every single episode of Morbid throughout the years. It was very important for me so that every time I hear a story, I put my focus into the victim and not get so lost in trying to figure out how their brain, the criminal's brain, worked, that we forget the victims. you need to read this book. Okay, this is a great book. The writing is beautiful, the characters are beautiful, the mystery is there, even though you know the story, but it still tells it in a very interesting way. And you should really read it. It's a very great experience, a very important one for us as a society. So the next thing I want to talk about is a series. It is a very well-known series, but I don't hear about it enough now. I think we used to talk about it way more before. So it's called the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. So this series is a YA mystery thriller series. I don't want to call it dark academia because it doesn't have the requirements. It just has an academic setting because they're in an academy, like boarding, an academy, like college or boarding school basically. So this story is set on Ellingham Academy, which was founded by Albert Ellingham, who was a very, very wealthy man, and he set this elite academy to just bringing the most brilliant and smart and unique people to study there. So it's not a open to public type of academy. They sent invitations to people to go there and study there. Shortly after he founded and opened this school, his daughter and wife got killed. And nobody knows why, nobody knows who did it. The only thing that was left was a riddle. Oh my god. While talking about it, I'm realizing how much I'm missing that feeling, and again, I want to reread this. This video is making me want to reread every single thing, and that's not healthy because I have so many new books that I need to read. Stevie Bell, our main character, is a true crime junkie, as I am, and her passion is to become not a detective, but to solve crimes. And she goes into this academy. Again, it's a very elite one that doesn't let everyone in. The reason they invite her to go there is because her goal in life is to solve this cold case mystery of Albert Ellingham's daughter and wife's murder. And you go there with her, it's in the mountains and you can't easily get out. So you're in a... Again, I'm remembering scenes from this series. The vibes are great, guys, okay? The mystery is really great. It's tight-knit, no plot holes. The pacing is very good. Stevie Bell is very lovable and interesting. This school is pretty interesting and exciting, and you get to go around in it all the time because of Stevie. And there is a romance. There is a romance that you don't see, that you don't think it's going to happen, but it does, and it's delicious. And this friend group that Stevie has there, the support system, the group, the diversity of it, 10 out of 10. I need to read this. I don't have time. I'm not gonna. Maybe I am. I don't know. But you should. You should read it. If you haven't, lucky you that you can experience this for the first time. I wish I were you. I really do. Every book by Holly Jackson can be enjoyed in autumn because of the fast-paced type of thriller that it is. Okay, I'm going to put emphasis on the reappearance of Rachel Price that had the most autumnal vibes. I don't know if it was set in fall. I think it was in summer. But whatever, I felt that. That is the one. I mean, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was set when she started school because it was a school project. So yeah, that too. And Five Survive is good too because you're in the middle of the forest in a camper. or a, was it a camper? Whatever, in a car, in a van. Was it a van? Whatever it was. And that has, and it gets cold and stuff. So again, very autumnal. That's Holly Jackson. If you want a quick mystery, not mystery, a quick mystery thriller, you should check her out. I know she's very well known for a good reason. I would say if you want more mystery, go with the reappearance of Rachel Price, and if you want the thrilling side to be more, go with Five Survive. And we have another series. Because I love every book, every single book on this list. All for the Game, Nora Sakavic. I can't believe that I didn't want to read this series and now it's one of my favorite series of all times. I watch edits of it every single day. And I've wanted to read it again since I finished the last book. So again, this, if you haven't read this series, again, lucky you. This series is basically about a sport called Exi. It's something between hockey and, it's something like hockey but a little bit different, but I want to say it's closest to hockey. It's a fictional game. And Neil, our main character, is really good at Exi, but he promised to her mother before she passed away to remain anonymous. But one day, because he's so good, this college professor comes and tries to recruit him for their Exi team. And their Exi team, the Foxes, called the Foxes, is basically misfits. Nobody in this whole team is a healthy, well-loved, no trauma kind of person. They're all traumatized, running from something with a very dark backstory. And that's why he recruits them to help them. And Neil basically accepts. There's something so addictive to this series. Watching these traumatized, basically bad teenagers, the romance, true enemies to lovers. Okay, they're enemies to kind of lovers. They're never lover. Even when they're lovers, they're kind of we don't like each other, but we love each other. I can't talk about it. I can't even talk about it. Please read this. The writing is nothing special, okay? Nothing. The characters kill you. The characters are so addictive. And there's basically there's another series that she's writing right now, which is connected to this series. It's about another team. I haven't read that one yet because I'm waiting for it to be finished, because I cannot be left in the middle of that story. But this story, if you haven't read it, please do. Please just go read it. You'll be addicted. You'll be addicted not halfway through the first book. Just try it, please. Okay, thank you. And lastly, we have What the Woods Took by Courtney Gold. Our main character is Devin, and she's a teenager. This is a YA mystery thriller. More thriller than mystery. And one night, while she's sleeping, two men come in her bedroom and basically steal her. End of the story. No. And they get her into this jungle with a group of teenagers. They have all kind of misbehaved, and they're not really well-behaved children. And their parents sign these forms of, okay, go get them into the jungle, spend this time there, teach them something, and teach them how to behave. It's like a group therapy in the jungle, but they have to do activities too. Something like that. But while they're starting, one day they wake up and they realize that the adults that took them there and the counselors are nowhere to be found. Are they dead? Are they gone? Did an animal eat them? Did a person kill them? And they're in the middle of nowhere, no cell phones, no resources other than their backpacks. And they're this group of teenagers that have to get out. And strange things keep happening. They keep seeing stuff and things like that. So you're in the forest throughout this whole book, watching weird things happen to these weird kids, and you don't know which one of them you can trust. And then you get to the twist, and you're like, oh no. And there's a sapphic relationship in it. Devin is either gay or bisexual. I think she's gay. And there's another girl in this group, Sheridan. Again, they're haters to lovers. They hate each other in the beginning. She has purple hair. And they have a very beautiful arc, all of these kids. They have a beautiful arc of realizing that we are traumatized, not just misbehaving. We're going through something and we are not the problem. And we are acting like this because we're traumatized, and this is our cry for hope. And they realize that they need to help each other, yes, and themselves. Yes, they're still children, but their adults around them are not helping them. So they need to help each other, or they won't have a life. They're just going to go in this path of doing wrong things for the wrong reasons and end up miserable, basically. So yeah, that's it. That's all the books that I wanted to talk to you about. If you're going to read any of these books, lucky you. I wish I didn't know any of them, and this was my first time being able to read them, but it's not. But I would love to know if you love them. If you have any autumn recommendations for me, let me know. I'm always looking for new books to read. Subscribe to my channel, please. Like this video and comment down below whatever it is that you want to. Thank you for watching.